from the ground to the sky, from LA all the way to Long Island. Who am I? That motherfucker nigga who be dissing. I be ripping motherfuckers like I'm eating on some chicken. Finger licking, like I got you out of Sylvia's, Copeland's, Roscoe's, Pollo, Loco, Bojangles, Popeyes, even KFC. Yo, MCs ain't got no wins when they fuck with DOG. I'm dramatic, emphatic, I'm charismatic, I'm down with my niggas. My people, keeping it real, fucking up your mind. Representing till the fullest, yo, I got another rhyme. Showtime, pump more systems than the Alpine. I bet you thinking to yourself right now what's on my mind. My mind's fed up, yo, I'm dead up. These faggot ass rappers and these punk bitches gonna get wet up. Running around the industry, fronting like a jiggy. Just because you rap, don't make you a piggy. Who is he? Some unknown sucker from the projects. Made a few demos, now you think you got it. Rhyming like Nas, looking like Tretch. Beach mad weak, hook I can't catch. Saying Def Jam's gonna sign you. You better get a job and leave that bullshit behind you. Word, you got some.
This is a switch bike.
Hate YouTube ads. Well, I guess we're live, and I'm here today to celebrate 4 years of sobriety. I guess my day was good. I started out early this morning at like 6:30, walking the dogs, and then after that I went to jiu-jitsu from 8:30 to 10:30, or basically like 10:45, and that was rough. I gassed out quick today, but that's all right. It was still a good day at jiu-jitsu, and then I came home, and I guess I went to work. I don't think I did. Oh yeah, I had a kendama session. That was fun. And then I went to work, and now I'm here making content. And it's funny because there was a time I was gonna get my notebook. I was gonna see if I could find a notebook, but I guess it's not that important. You guys don't need to see it, but I used to make these lists, and it would be like a whole page full of stuff, and it was like I could never figure out how to have productive days where I was doing good things and positive things, and so I was constantly relapsing because I would have all these goals that I wasn't meeting, and then it was making me stressed out, and then I would just use again because I didn't have any other coping mechanisms or ways of managing with my emotions yet. So anyways, 4 years, had a good day, and yeah, I guess that's all I really have to say about that. But when it comes to the sobriety industry, that's what I'd really like to talk about tonight. And it's because it didn't work for me. And I'm convinced that there's a ton of other people that it's not working for either. And a ton of other people that don't even attempt because of what it is. And so it's like the whole thing here is like if it worked for you, then more power to you. Like, this isn't about saying that it doesn't work or that it's not good, because I know it works for a lot of people. Like my friend that encouraged me to get sober is himself like 6 or 7 years sober at this point, and he did use AA and NA, and that's what worked for him and also his wife, and they've got a beautiful, happy family now, and he's gainfully employed. And so, I mean, I know that what's out there works, but for me, it did not do anything positive. If anything, it was negative in my life. And then you know, I had my same friend told me like, oh, well, you got to go to different groups and you got to give it time and you got to work the steps. And it just wasn't for me. And what's kind of funny is that when I went and did my own thing, and it arguably took me a lot longer. I mean, when you think about the process of doing my own thing, it was like 5 or 6 years prior to even deciding to try to get sober that I was constantly thinking about what I needed to do to become the person I needed to be, and it was always there in the back of my mind that like probably drinking the way I did and going to parties as often as I did, and even smoking weed, none of those things were conducive to my success. And if you've been following some of my other videos, then you know that I still smoked weed throughout the last 4 years, because I chose not to use pharmaceutical medicine or go to a therapist or do any of that. I chose to do things my own way. And so I used marijuana because it seemed like the least destructive thing to manage my emotions. I mean, I used to snort benzos, like I used to snort Xanax, and like I just had no desire to touch pharmaceuticals again. And even though I smoked weed my whole life, I was like, well, going cold turkey isn't working. And so and then plus it was like, okay, I was thinking about like obsessive compulsive desires in all ways. It wasn't just drug use, it was the way that I approached sex and relationships and eating, and like literally everything in my life was an issue. And yeah, and so the lists were trying to address everything at once, and it made it really hard. And so I had to stop doing that. Like I had to dial it back and try to do less at once, and focus on just not drinking, because it was the most destructive thing. Like I was driving drunk all the time. Luckily I never got a DUI or crashed. I mean, I didn't use drugs a lot at home. Like the drugs that I used were party drugs involved in raving, and I only really did that stuff when I went out to like a party. And so when I stopped drinking finally, part of not partying anymore was kind of part and parcel with that, because I just found that with my old group of friends and the way that they consume drugs and alcohol, that even if I partied with them with other drugs and didn't use alcohol, that I just wasn't having a good time. Like the quality of the conversations that were happening was like super low, and I never realized that when I was drunk. And then there was a lot of just ignorance and self-righteous hate when it came to politics and things. And these are people I'd been friends with for like a decade, and I start telling them I have problems, and then I start talking to them about the solutions I'm finding. And because they're like adjacent to conservatism, like my friends started thinking I was like some kind of fucking idiot or something, like a brainwashed joke. I don't know what. They certainly didn't respect the journey I was on, and they didn't. I told them I was down to kick it still, but I couldn't party anymore. So like if they wanted to DJ or produce music, like I would be down to come stay up all night doing that. But they never hit me up, and so I guess I lost like all of my best friends, and or most of them, to be honest with you. And they don't call me or invite me places. I doubt that if I called them that they would be wanting to make plans with me. Like they might not be rude to me or tell me to fuck off, but they'd be like, oh, that sounds cool, like I'll get back to you or something. And then I'm not going to hear back from them for sure. But I guess that's just part of the process. I don't know. So yeah, 4 years sober for me, and that's been great. I guess I kept carrying on even after I said I was done with that. But yeah, so I'll get on to the main point of the video, which is the sobriety industrial complex. I guess that's why I carried off, is because I started talking about AA and NA. So anyways, my friend, he suggested that I use AA and NA, and even as an adult, after the first time I was ever there was for like a deferred entry of judgment. I had to do outpatient drug classes and attend AA and NA meetings and complete a year of probation. And so I did classes and I did AA and NA, and I saw what working the program was about and what classes were about, and I kind of learned back then the direction that was headed, and I did learn a lot of important tools that I think probably were the reason, like knowing, having that perspective and being able to think about some of the things that I did learn in my outpatient class specifically, I think that was truly the beginning of my journey. Like I'm not sure if I would have thought the same way or made the same choices if I hadn't ended up in that situation. Like if I had never gotten in trouble, never been to those places, I'm not sure if I would have had the same thought process later in life. So credit where it's due, but at the same time, ultimately it wasn't what I was looking for, and it turned me off and made me anxious. Like it made me want to use more than it made me want to pursue recovery. And I didn't I don't know, it wasn't a good situation for me. And so that's what motivated me to find my own way. And so I did get sober on my own. I listened to all kinds of different professors from all kinds of different fields give lectures on YouTube. And to be honest, the one that ended up speaking to me the most was Jordan Peterson. Like everything about personal responsibility. So he's got 3 lecture series that I've listened to all of the videos, and they're like 2-hour lectures multiple times. And there's one on maps of meaning. Which is a book he wrote about the evolution of psychology. And so it goes over like how did we end up thinking the things that we do is what he's talking about. And I mean, he goes all the way back to, primate psychology and things like detecting predators and different colors associated with different either danger or maybe like a romantic situation, like flushed cheeks, or I don't know. He goes back to like from the most fundamental level at the beginning of history of the world, like through the history of humanity, like how did we evolve to have the neural circuitry and the emotions and the thoughts that we do, and what literature and religions and things have grown out of that. And so it's super interesting, Maps of Meaning. And then his next lecture series that I got into was, or at the same time as Maps of Meaning, really, I watched them. I would go back and forth depending on what I wanted to hear about. And he had one called, another lecture series called Personality and Its Transformations. And in that one, he teaches about Jungian archetypes and in my opinion, the way that I describe it, I call it spiritual alchemy. And I think that's what he's teaching. That's what Jung was teaching, and I think that's what Jordan Peterson is teaching, in my personal opinion. That's how I like to call it. And the way that you achieve this is by understanding different archetypes and different aspects of the psyche. So that way you can actually choose like how you want to think, and versus sort of being the victim of your subconscious programming. Or that's, again, those are my own words. Maybe Jordan Peterson would say that isn't a good, an accurate description, but that's my takeaway. And so anyways, and then the final ones were his lectures on the psychological significance of the Bible stories, and also his debates that he did with Sam Harris were huge for me. I listened from the very first ones they did themselves, which were a bit rough, through the ones that were funded by the Pangburn institution or association or whoever they are. One was moderated by Brett Weinstein, and the other was moderated, or 2 others were moderated by Douglas Murray. And while I love all 3 and I love Brett Weinstein, the ones with Douglas Murray moderating are my favorite, and in large part because of Douglas Murray's contributions, but also just because I think Sam and Jordan got deeper into the meaning, like the heart of the debate. And I think these debates could all be much deeper and more meaningful, but I found Sam Harris to be, I don't know, I think he's dishonest, and his debating tactics, he'll make up these like wild hypothetical situations and then equivocate about them, and then somehow like pretend he made a salient point when he almost never addresses like what Jordan is actually talking about. So I don't know, but it is, I think, really good debate for probably most people who are either atheist or Christian from the West to listen to. But anyways, so by just listening to Jordan Peterson lectures and other lectures, like honestly a large part of it had to do with biohacking, nutrition, and physiology as well. I also listened to a guy called Robert Sapolsky a lot that I really liked, and a few other psychologists as well that I can't remember off the top of my head, but did find very useful. And just by listening to these people teach psychology and unravel all this shit, and just being honest with myself about my own thoughts and my own shortcomings, and when I was blaming people unfairly when it was really my own responsibility, that stuff is how I changed my life. And again, also there is a C.S. Lewis book called Mere Christianity where he talks about, I didn't even finish the book, so I'm honestly not sure why he talked about it, but it wasn't my fault. Like, he started talking about what a panopticon was, and I just didn't even care what the rest of the book was about, because I immediately, so a panopticon is like a prison system where every cell is viewable from one central guard, but none of the prisoners know when the guard is watching them. And it had the same effect as having guards watching every prisoner, because the prisoners weren't sure when the guards were watching. They would still choose not to take the chance, And so it really made me think about morality as like the ultimate panopticon. And I don't think it's about having God as the guard that is judging you, whether or not, like, however you feel about God and judgment, I think is separate. But the idea is that you are the guard, and all of your prisoners are your emotions and the infinite ways that they could manifest in the world to hurt yourself or people around you. And the goal is to be someone who can live their life in a way that is beneficial to themselves and the people around them, in a way that they're happy and they're fulfilled feeling, and they're feeling, And so when you constantly allow yourself to be a slave to vice, whatever that is, I mean, whether you're lazy, whether you're greedy, whether you suffer from lust, or maybe you're violent and angry and constantly seeking retribution, like all of these things are the result of different emotions that could be controlled through morality. And the way that happens is that when you understand and have faith in the moral teachings, because you've been applying them and learning the lessons in your own life, you notice your emotions and you see them and you feel them, but you don't necessarily immediately react on them, because you start thinking about the principles by which you're trying to guide your life. And then when you allow those principles to guide you, you end up making different choices than you would if you allowed your emotions to guide you, and you end up having different outcomes because of it. So for me, myself, I wasn't free. I wasn't getting any of the results I wanted in life, and I was constantly a slave to my own vice, and I wasn't doing anything to nurture virtue. And so when I realized that, that I wasn't the one running the show and that my emotions were, I finally realized that morality was like the ultimate panopticon for self-governance. And so it like changed everything. and it's like the most powerful thing that guides my life now. And I'm not perfect by any means, but that's a true statement. I'm trying hard to do better, but I still am a person who feels emotions, and it's hard. And so, I'm doing my best though. And so anyways, looking at morality and C.S. Lewis and the Panopticon, and that was helping me push me in the right direction. And it was all these types of things and personal introspection, and like, quite frankly, no one can do that except yourself. Like, you can go to a million therapists in a million different places, you go to a million different groups, and you might never find the people to say the right things that you need to hear. Like, and not only that, you might be constantly be getting discouraged and angry, and everything is just dumb and annoying. And so it's like, if that's how you feel, then just recognize that that's not your only option. Like, you can still go on this journey. You have infinite amounts of material at your disposal. And if the AA, NA, inpatient, outpatient model that currently exists isn't working for you, then I highly suggest that you try doing what I did. It's hard, and there's no guarantee that you're going to make it, but there's no guarantee that you're going to make it in any other traditional sobriety programs either. And if you've already been trying and relapsing and failing, or you're just not even willing to go and start, but you know that you need to, it's like, maybe you could try getting on YouTube and finding good professors. And that's also dangerous. Like, you might find professors that teach you bullshit that turn you into an even worse person. So, like, I'm not saying that this is, like, if you can do AA and NA and inpatient or outpatient counseling or rehab, and that works for you, and you can get back on the straight and narrow and be working towards getting results in your life that are meaningful, then great. But I think you should do it that way. I don't think there's any reason you should subject yourself to the trouble that I went through trying to figure my own shit out. But again, that's the point of my channel. If you are a person like me and nothing's working, I'm hoping that by sharing my honest testimonial and everything that's worked for me, that perhaps it could help another person that's, trying to figure out what to do with themselves, start heading in the right direction. So yeah, I guess I was wrong when I said I was done talking about my 4 years of sobriety at the beginning. I thought I was going to hop right into this next part, but I think now I'm ready to hop into this next part. So I had 3 years of sobriety, and I was delivering hospice medication for pharmacies during the pandemic. And one of the places I delivered to was an inpatient drug rehabilitation facility. It was this beautiful ranch in the wineries in Southern California where I live, and there was room for, I believe, 12 patients total, and there was rescue animals there. I actually really liked the lady that owned it, and I'm sorry that we didn't have a better, more meaningful relationship or interaction. Like, I'm really bummed that they couldn't get to know me more, and I couldn't get to know them more, but the situation just wasn't right for me. And because it was bothering me so much and making me so bent out of shape, it in turn also wasn't right for them. And so I put in my 2 weeks notice after only working there for about a month. And I was 3 years sober. I thought I was making a choice that was going to move me forward in a career path that I could be passionate about, and like my life would finally be like, I would be able to maybe start dating with the intention of marriage, and like my life would finally be moving in the right direction. And I hadn't quit smoking pot since I started when I was 14, and I quit smoking pot for that job. Like, that's how bad I wanted. I'd smoked every day for 16 years, and I gave it up overnight because I wanted the opportunity to work with recovering addicts and and try to help them. But they had a vaccine mandate, and I was super skeptical about that. And I actually did take one dose of Pfizer against my personal beliefs because, again, I felt that I was being jaded by who I used to be, and that I was being irrational and unreasonable by feeling skeptical about the situation. And I knew, like, if you listen to my videos, I talk about how much I've listened to different conspiracy theories over the year, which I really don't even like that term, conspiracy theories. But the point being is that I was well aware of everything, from the most absurd to the most measured and thought out arguments against the vaccine, and I still chose to take it. And I'm not sure, because I did have adverse reactions to it, and I have no idea. Like it's so hard to say, like, if I have actually any vaccine injury, but certainly the first days prior, I had a lymph node in my armpit swell up to the point where I couldn't even hold my arm at my side without it being so tender that it hurted. But and that was scary. And then I read somewhere too that if you felt across your body, if you felt in the opposing arm from where you got the vaccine, any sort of pain or sensations, that it could mean that there was potential damage to your heart. And I did feel that. And so I don't know. And like, I mean, I gas out super hard at jiu-jitsu sometimes, to the point where I feel like if I was going to have heart palpitations, I probably would. But I don't know. Either which way, the point of me telling you this is giving up weed and taking the vaccine were like two of the most huge personal sacrifices that I could possibly make. And I put my 2 weeks notice in a week after I took the jab. And I started smoking weed again immediately once I was no longer working there, because I was so bent out of shape and emotionally torn up about the whole thing. Like, everything that I had been willing to do to get the job, and then at the end of the day, I tried to be honest with them about it too, and be like, look, this is what I'm going through, and this is what, and I think they saw me as passionate and wanting to help. But I mean, at the same time, you're running a business that's got oversight from board of governors and insurance companies that you're trying to bill, and it's like, you don't have time for people that are in my situation and trying to figure things out. And so it was the main reasons that I decided to put my 2 weeks in were not the smoking weed part and the vaccine. I was prepared to work there. That's why I did those things. But they put me on a graveyard shift, and because that's when they needed me. They were constantly short-staffed, and they had literal, like, volunteers and interns that were working there. Like, some people that were volunteers that were working for free to get like hours towards whatever the RADT, I guess, the same certification I had. And then there were other people working there that had already been through school and were working on like their KDAC and stuff like that. But either way, like, you're only getting paid $16 an hour. And so unless you've already got your life organized in a way that is, you've been planning to spend all this time and do all this at such a low wage, it's like, I mean, I was getting $16 an hour, and I was working 37 hours a week. I was getting paid $800 every 2 weeks. And I was responsible for people that were detoxing. Like, I had to make sure they were breathing every 15 minutes. And I had to make sure that if they were ODing because they snuck in drugs, like, I had to either give them CPR if they stopped breathing, or I had to give them Narcan if I thought they were overdosing. And if I did anything incorrectly and someone were to die or even have a medical emergency, I could have been the one held responsible for that. And then on top of it, they had me you know, cleaning toilets and mopping the floors and cleaning baseboards and doing dishes at nighttime at the same time as I'm supposed to be like checking every 15 minutes that people are still breathing. And so yeah, this is already not worth $16 an hour. And then on top of that, it's like on my first week there was a guy that was like literally out of his mind from whatever drugs he had taken. Like they affected him in a way that he was just spun out and like couldn't get a hold of himself. And he was all bent out of shape on his first night there, and it was like midnight or 1 a.m. and he's telling me like how he how he doesn't want to be there, and he would be hitting me if he wasn't in control of himself. And he was like 6 foot something and 200 some odd pounds. I'm 5'7", 135 pounds, and I'm just like, damn, I hope my white belt is fucking strong enough for my jiu-jitsu. That's all I could think in my head. I literally, all I told him was thank you for not hitting me. And then I immediately started thinking how I would take his back and choke him if he attacked me. Luckily that didn't happen. Luckily I got on the phone, got the people I needed to get a hold of, and got him on the phone with his on-call therapist, who was able to like talk him down, got him to like stay and just go to bed. And so like I was prepared to do this job and be a passionate employee. I would have been down to work multiple hours of overtime, but not for $16. Not when my main shift is a graveyard shift where I'm doing chores and not even able to talk with anyone in groups or be a part of their recovery journey at all. And that was when I really learned the truth, is that like as an AR, working in the recovery industry, it doesn't matter like whether you're an RADT, you're like a glorified babysitter. You know, you're there to observe and report, you're there to do paperwork, and you're there to do chores. And you do get to participate in the group somewhat, so like you can kind of be helpful in some ways, but you really aren't supposed to talk about your own journey. I got in trouble for that. No one wanted to share at group one night, so I shared my own testimony. And then someone reported me because I thought I was doing the right thing by explaining why I had self-hate over my body image and how that led to me getting circumcised. And someone complained about the fact that I said that, and they told me that I was making it my therapy. And I was like, how am I making it my therapy? My intention of opening my mouth was sharing something embarrassing and hard so people would understand like the reality of the type of stuff that you really have to overcome in order to get sober. Like, and I'm sure that's probably why someone reported me. Someone themselves probably fucking was a little bitch that couldn't face that shit, and so fuck them, whatever. That brings me to my next point. The way these rehabs are run, it's like the fucking patients running the asylum. It is fucking bullshit. Like, I couldn't imagine trying to be a white male working in a rehab facility in Northern California. Jesus fucking Christ. Even down here in Southern California, I'm sorry for cussing. Like, it's absurd. You have people that are trying to run their own program, and they'll use any excuse, from progressive victim culture, cancellation politics, to literally just using their medication to manipulate people, and claiming that, oh, you can't tell me how I feel, I need this now. And like, you're hurting me essentially by not giving me my medication. Like that's, and then the people that work there just have to capitulate because they're like, well, I'm either going to lose a patient right now or I'm going to give them a pill. And it's not with all their medications, but I mean, they'll have various different things that they can request. And like, I saw it literally in multiple different people. Like the vast majority of the people in that place were trying to run their own programs, and they were successfully doing it. They were doing whatever the fuck they wanted in there, however the fuck they wanted to. And like, they were just on vacation, via their insurance company. And you know, I don't blame them. It's their fucking corny ass worksheets. It's like the only time I really heard anyone saying that they had any true benefit was when they had like good set one-on-one sessions with the therapist. So I don't know. The whole thing seemed pretty whack to me. And then I found out, like, because when I was putting my 2 weeks in and trying to figure out if there was a path forward for me to go to school and keep working there, you know, I was talking to the lady about it, and I was talking about my perspective on how you would get people sober at a place like that. And it's literally has nothing to do, if you're detoxing and you need pharmaceutical medicine for your detox, that's one thing. But like, if you're just managing your emotions, I mean, maybe if you've got severe problems diagnosed, prescribed, and, you know, all that, then fine. But if you're just trying to, like, you know, tell the doctor the right words because you know he'll prescribe you something, and then manipulate the therapist so they'll get the RADTs and the KDACs and whoever else is working, manipulate them into, like, you know, giving you what you want when you want it, and you're still doing the same trip. You know, you're getting you to take your thing and pretend that it's making you feel good, feel better about yourself. So it still is the same head trip. And in any case, I talked to the lady, and I was asking her, like, you know, if I were doing this, we'd be doing saunas and heat therapy and cold therapy and intermittent fasting and extended fasting, and you know, we'd be doing meditation, and we would be learning comparative religious studies, and we would be learning the history of the Enlightenment and Western culture and modernity, and we would be working through our negative emotions and getting to, you know, we wouldn't be doing the pussyfooting, pansying stuff. We would be doing hard work constantly every day, not sitting in front of the TV after filling out a worksheet and eating, you know, fucking cookies and snacks. And she was telling me, she was like, yeah, like, I thought I was going to have a dude ranch and people were going to come here and we were going to, you know, be busting our asses all day working on the ranch, and then, you know, doing our groups at night and getting sober. And she was like, you know, as I started the business, it's like, first you deal with board of, you know, the board of governors. And right then and there, like, half of her dream was gone, or more of it probably. And then after that, you're dealing with insurance companies, and they're telling you they're looking at every section of the day and deciding whether or not they're going to allow, like, whether or not they're going to be willing to pay, like, allow you to bill them for that. And so and they give the place, like, there's very strict guidelines of what is billable and what's not. And so, and it's like they got in trouble while I was there because it is billable to go to AA or NA meetings, but it isn't billable to go to church. And they would do groups going to church in place of AA or NA meetings sometimes, and people complained about it, and they had to stop doing it. And the gist of what I got is that they weren't able to bill the insurance companies for those hours when they went to church, so they stopped doing it. So recovery the recovery industry is fucking whack, and it is not based on what people need. It is based on board of governors and insurance companies, and it is based on fucking making money. Fuck that shit. Anyways, that's why I'm giving everything out for free. I don't have any sponsored content. The majority of everything that's meaningful to me that I have to say is going to be put out for free. And if I'm ever popular enough to start selling merch or having a subscription service or anything of that nature, everything that I'm doing now will always remain free. And because that was the thing with the new age is it's like everyone wants money. It's like these people will befriend you, and they will tell you that they've got the perfect solution to your problems, but then when when you're there hook, line, and sinker, then they say, oh well, these are my hourly rates and this is how I bill and blah 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 blah. And like I get that people have to run a business and have a career, and that's fine. Like if you have money and you're looking to go to people that are doing that kind of stuff, then again, more power to you. But I did not have money. I did not have the desire to go to those people. And even if I did have money, and I don't know, I guess I was just, because of my own thinking, kind of in between a rock and a hard place. But that's why I'm here, is because I went and tried to figure things out on my own, and so I'm trying to share with you guys how I did that, and I'm hoping that will be useful and meaningful to someone currently that has either tried rehabs a million times or AA and NA and has never found a thing that works for them, or just refuses to even start, like just thinks it's all corny bullshit. Like, I don't know, maybe you can vibe with some of the shit I'm talking about, and maybe that'll help you start thinking for yourself. And when you start thinking for yourself, that'll move the dial finally. But yeah, I guess that's really all I have to say is my experience with the sobriety industrial complex is that it was not created by drug addicts for drug addicts. Like, it might have started out that way, but as soon as the AA and NA program had to memory hole the history of psychedelic drug use so they could go mainstream, it became that. It was no longer, and I guess I could research that split between those two guys, because that's the way it went. There was two guys that originally started AA. One of them was super dedicated to the meaningfulness of using psychedelic drugs to transcend your subconscious programming, and the other one, I'm not really sure why he didn't want to do it, but I'm assuming because when there was an opportunity to make it a big mainstream thing, and I have no idea if he ever profited off of it himself in any way. But either way, when he saw the opportunity, whether he profited off of it or whether he just saw an opportunity to make it way more mainstream and widespread, and he thought that was the way to help people, it turned into, something else at that point. And so I don't know. Still, I guess, by a drug addict, but I guess I need to do some research to figure out what his motivations were for really not wanting to allow his partner to be included in the story and share his wisdom about what he thought about psychedelic drug use. And so, yeah, I mean, it is made, again, for mainstream populist release. It isn't made for hard, like, what actually, like, let's just be honest about what actually works. And I think, personally, in my opinion, when they cut out the psychedelics from AA, they cut out the heart of AA. Unless you go on that, and maybe I won't quite be so hyperbolic. It is possible to go on those introspective journeys without psychedelic drugs. So if you're able to do that, then again, more power to you. But to pretend that everyone can do that, or that everyone should try to do that when they could use a psychedelic drug to, and I'm not even going to advocate that you do what I did, because I did not use psychedelic assisted therapy. I was a raver who just went on my own journey. Like, I want to make an episode about modern shamanism in the West, and how we live in a different jungle, and we had to blaze a different trail with different chemicals And we're still doing that right now, but that's a different story. But either way, I was seeking true knowledge without a master to tell me what to think, and that's how I ended up, on that journey. And I don't know. I can't tell anyone definitively what they should do. I can only talk about how I feel, and so, but I don't recommend going and just finding a drug dealer who says they've got mushrooms or acid or DMT and just doing it. It's you either need to be part of a experienced community that has access to high quality, real LSD, healthy, properly grown and everything mushrooms, properly extracted and everything DMT, like all these different substances can be, subpar to the point where they don't work, or where they produce an anxiety driven, like undesirable experience, or they can, be like tainted even depending on who you're getting it from. So you either need a good, well-established, intelligent community of psychedelic drug users, or you need to go to psychedelic assisted therapy. Again, if this is something you're called towards, this is your own journey. Like, I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you whether you should go to Peru and take ayahuasca, or whether you should go to a rave and, meet a college graduate that likes LSD. Like, I don't fucking know what you should do. But I do think, for me anyways, psychedelics were massive in me. Psychedelics and music both were massive in my recovery. And if you listen to my testimonial, I talk a little bit more about that, and I'm sure I'll talk about it more in the future. But so yeah, I hope if you've been involved in the sobriety industry that you're not offended by what I'm saying. Like I said, it does work for some people, but when you look at how many people aren't even willing to step in through the front doors or ever go to an AA or NA meeting, or how many people like me did go and were so turned off that they said I'd rather be an addict, and went and kept using until, whatever, they either died or figured it out or fucking went back to AA. I don't know. But there's all kinds of resources out there. You're more than capable of thinking for yourself, and all you have to do is listen to people and consider what they're saying. And like, you can tell when someone is full of shit and when someone is genuine, and you can tell when someone is, whether or not they're highly educated or educated to the standard that you're looking for. Like, you can tell when they're smart and when they're speaking with some degree of I don't know if authority matters as much as conviction, but I guess both. You need both. But I mean, who's to say? Like, you're talking about your own life and your own experience, so it's like you are the authority on that anyways. But like, I don't know, I get too trailed off and forget what I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, if you work at an AA or an NA and it worked for you, if you're going to one and it worked for you, keep doing it. Don't hear what I'm saying and be like, oh, I should go be like that guy. I'm trying to speak specifically to people who things are not working for, and share my experience of why I think things aren't working, and how to best go about making better choices in the future that might ultimately result in you getting sober. So again, I don't mean to offend anyone or shame anyone or talk down to anyone. if there's one thing I believe is that we need to give each other space to go on our own journeys. And like that's part of the reason why I didn't like AA and NA. It's like you get in there and they tell you how to think, and you have to start, you have to be you got to be a good recovery. Like, say the prayers, be loud when you say the prayer, lead the prayer, read the thing at the beginning of the group, say all the slogans, be the first one to say, we do recover, with a big smile on your face, and like, get a decent job and make money. And then, as long as everything looks good on the outside, you can say recovery's working for you. Like, it doesn't matter if you're still absolutely beside yourself and don't know how to think for yourself and are stressed out and anxious and depressed and would just as soon be using if it were up to you. I mean, anyways, I want to stop rambling. I hope if you're in sobriety right now that you'll stay sober. If you are looking to get sober, I hope today will be the day that you choose to do that. And I hope things that I'm talking about here on this channel can be helpful in some way to you. There are links to my testimony in the description, as well as links to ways that you can support me if you feel like doing that. I'm not sure if I deserve any support yet, but they're there. And so yeah, I'm happy that I made it for 4 years, and I truly have no desire to be the type of person I used to be, and I am hard pressed to believe that I would go back there after everything I've been through with the pandemic and losing my mom and coming to terms with my own self-hate and all of that. Like, I'm not sure what else the world could do to me. I mean, I guess the one thing I think about is, like, if I started dating someone and then they were an evil, manipulative person, and I was like a hopeless romantic that let myself just get wrecked. Or if I had kids and something happened to like, there's definitely still stuff that could test me. I know that. But like, currently, as it stands right now, just in my current situation, I don't see anything that would cause me to just be like, I'm fucking over this. Like, give me all the drugs. So yeah, good luck on your journey. At the very least, if my content or anything I've been doing is meaningful to you, please leave a comment or a like or follow me, because it really does give me a huge amount of motivation to keep going every time I see one more follower or a like or a comment. So thank you guys for listening to me, and if you do care about what I have to say, thank you for that, and good luck to you. Cheers.